Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of Ways to Wellness podcast. I am Francesca Scerbo here with Jeffrey Delaney. We are so happy to be back, and we are here to talk about supplements. I feel like that's something that everybody has a question about, and it's the supplements that we're probably not getting.
Yeah, I feel like, a lot of people, that's a common question, right? Like, what supplement should I be taking, or what should I add? What do you think about this? Is it good? And, there's tons of supplements out there. Obviously, that's a huge industry. But today I think our goal is to talk about the supplements that even if your nutrition's good or you have a decent diet, like what does the average American maybe still not get enough of? Where do they lack, or things that they could add that almost everyone would benefit from?
Absolutely, because we can't out-supplement our nutrition, right? Yep.
But also too, like I said, is sometimes you could have the best diet or the best food, or certain types of dietary plans lack certain things. So, it's the common ones I would say I see too, just even on lab work with people, it's like that are relatively healthy. They eat relatively healthy, but there's still some deficiencies.
Yeah. Let's talk about, we should definitely talk about what are some of because this is a question I get all the time, like, Fran, what are the critical supplements that I should have? Like, what are the ones that if I can only pick a few, because supplements are expensive, right? And then we want to make sure we're obviously picking the right one. But if we were going to go with, and you mentioned the blood work, what are some of the top that we would recommend? I guess I'll start. I think for me, it's going to definitely be something for, something for I would say for immunity boost. So I would definitely say something like a zinc. I would say definitely vitamin D, right? D3K2. I would say omega-3s for women and hormones and such. And I would probably say maybe iron.
Yep.
That's a big one.
For females, for sure.
100%. Because obviously when we're looking at labs, that's something that we definitely are looking at. There's definitely probably a couple more, but what would you say? Fiber
is a big one. Not a lot of people have enough, vegetables in their diet. Even if they do, they still lack in fiber. So I would say that's a big game changer for a lot of people, just for cholesterol purposes, digestion or restroom. D3K2 is kind of top of my list, even being in Florida. And that's kind of the one I see a lot with blood work. People that still get out in the sun, or they still have a decent diet and they're still D deficient. So, that one, I feel like for most people, they're very rare do I see somebody with an amazing vitamin D3 level.
True.
So
I think that one's a good one. I talk about that with women too, for bone health.
Yep.
So many women are like, oh, I'm just going to take a lot of calcium. And calcium is great, but I think it's really the D that we need. And I'll say that calcium is good and you can get some of that through your diet, but definitely the vitamin D. And it's funny that you said living in Florida, because, I obviously came from New Jersey.
Yep.
And I feel like I get a good amount of sun. And also too, you feel like here, a lot of people hide from the sun because we want to protect our skin.
Yep.
So we're really not getting enough vitamin D. And I think another thing is, like we were talking too, is I don't think a lot of people understand that we need to pair D with the K2 in order for it to get its most amount of absorption and for it to really be beneficial for our bodies.
Yeah. And, kind of good information, like K actually helps direct where the D goes, helps direct the calcium. A lot of times if you don't have K, some of that could build up in the arteries, or just get lost in the tissue. And so so you could be taking a D3 supplement and still not see that number move on like paperwork or blood work. So making sure you are pairing it with something like a K2.
Absolutely. And I love that you said fiber. I've become a big fiber girl. Now, obviously fiber is not for everybody, because some people, if you have GI issues, fiber can be detrimental for the stomach. But in most cases, I think that it's obviously picking, the right types of fiber and not overdosing on, psyllium husk or things like that. But having really good fiber actually helps the digestive system and also helps you feel satiated. So I think it's really important. And it obviously, like you said, it helps with the bowels, helps with all of that stuff. So I don't think a lot of people think about fiber, because a lot of people, to your point, and I see this too, is no one's eating enough fiber, because we're a little bit skeptical of how much fiber should we eat? What's the right amount of grams? So I think that that's a big one. I mean, I like to recommend for, food wise, 25, I'll even go as high as 50 for my hormone women.
Yep.
I know I try to aim for that. And then, making sure that the supplement source is actually easy for the digestive system and fluid is getting into your system to be able to digest this fiber, because otherwise it can be pretty tough.
It'll feel like a brick.
Oh my God. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you see it all the time. A lot of people just either don't eat enough vegetables, or they're just not like, they're not getting enough fiber just in general. I personally, I'm almost at a point where when I don't do fiber, things are not good. I almost do it every single night. It's kind of in like my nighttime concoction just to keep all things good and just fill the gaps in the vegetables I don't eat. I try to eat vegetables when I can, but let's face it, a lot of people don't eat vegetables.
No way. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. I think that's a couple of, that's definitely important. I think a couple of other ones we had just mentioned is, I think you and I had spoken about this. There's so many different, magnesium's huge.
Yep. Huge.
I am still on the search for what's the best magnesium supplement for me to take. And I feel like my diet's pretty good. And then there's so many different types. There's glycinate, malate, citrate. So it's like, which one do we pick? And I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of magnesium either.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us, just even for just overall balance, muscular contraction, it's definitely a must. It's almost everybody probably lacks in magnesium. So performance, game changer, making sure you have magnesium. But, I kind of want to touch on something because, I feel like the world we're in today, it's like, all right, well, you need to be doing this magnesium or this magnesium, and this one's better for pooping, and this one's better to sleep better. Personally, I mean, I've done every little one a la carte, and they all get some magnesium.
Honestly, it's true that I've never noticed the difference.
I will tell you, if you look at some of the magnesium supplements that they use, like a magnesium citrate will make you go to the restroom more than a normal glycinate or malate or anything like that. But end of the day, they're still going to all have similar benefits. So, I think too many people get hyper focused. It's like, oh, I'm taking the wrong magnesium. First off, just try to get some magnesium. I do use a Calm, which is a nighttime drink, which actually helps with sleep, but it's not the glycinate, which is supposed to be the best for sleep, and it still helps for sleep. So,
absolutely.
I try not to, I don't want people to get too rigid and think like they have to have certain particular ones. Now, if you have a immediate problem and you're trying to focus towards that, maybe go with a specific magnesium. Or find one. There's actually, I think I sent you a supplement.
You did. I actually got it. I got it. It's all in all the it's all the magnesiums in one. It's like it's one less thing to take. Yeah. I actually do like the you just mentioned the Calm. I take a I think it's called Trimagnite, and they blend it with the 3 different types of magnesiums. They do it with lavender and chamomile and all that stuff. So to your point, I think that there's definitely, it's all going to work the same way. And I think it's just one less supplement to take throughout the day.
Yeah. I mean, if you're questioning it, like I said, they're starting to come out with supplements that have multi forms of magnesium, but end of the day, add some magnesium because most likely you would benefit from it. So
I agree. I think that's a big one. And I also feel like when people are kind of, I look at it from a workout standpoint too.
Yep.
If you got somebody dragging in a workout, the one thing I'll say to them is where you're, do you take magnesium? I don't necessarily always prescribe or I'll always suggest a supplement, but that's always the first one I'll say when it's for, exercise purposes too.
And kind of talking about that, if you're adding electrolytes, sodium, potassium, and then I would look at magnesium, which is a mineral, you could check a box there too,
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
So obviously we both agree vitamin D, K2, most people need. I do want to put caution with that one. So, it's one of those things you should check your labs, make sure, see where your level's at.
Yes.
Then what I do recommend is get a good quality D3, K2, depending on where your level's at, 5,000 to, 10,000 units. There's a good brand I like that's been pretty consistent that works for most, Metagenics makes a good one. There's a ton of products. Just make sure it's a good company that actually third party tested.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
You don't know what you're getting with some of the cheaper stuff on Amazon. But, so D3 with the K2, just so you could direct and get the most out of it. But don't just go blindly about it. I always say start it maybe give yourself 6 to 8 weeks on it and then recheck that level and see if it even moved. There's a lot of people in the world we live that supplements vitamin D3, K2, and it doesn't move the needle. I'm one of them. For years I would take it. I'm like, oh, it's great. Whatever. Never moved the needle on my D3 level. So I actually inject it. I put it into my testosterone and it does move the needle for me. And I'm telling you, like, getting your level to a good range, 50, 60, 70, 80, great. Your immune system, hormones, obviously for females, a game changer for most females, especially as you age. I would kind of look at it as it's kind of like a drug or a steroid. It really is, and what it could do in the system. So, but caution, if you have a good level or you're somebody that absorbs, be careful, because if you go too high, you could create like kidney stones and whatnot.
It could become toxic.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. We just checked mine. I think it's the same for me. Like my needle doesn't move too fast, but it's enough, I guess, for me. But yeah, I think that's a big one for most people. And I think that, obviously from a nutrition standpoint, I always tell people to pair it with food because it's a fat soluble vitamin for sure. So I think a lot of people take it first thing in the morning, empty stomach. So to make it to its most benefit, make sure that you pair it with something for sure.
Absolutely.
And then, I think that, making sure that you don't take too much because of toxicity. That's where obviously I think it's important at any point in time when you're taking supplements, to be able to check your levels. You have to check your levels and know where you're at. You can't just be taking the same supplements for months. Otherwise,
and what's going to happen there. And I fell kind of victim to this is like for years I would add something because of the benefits. I'd take it, never really gauged if it was or wasn't doing anything for me. And so it's kind of like, then next thing you know, you're adding supplement after supplement. Next thing you know, you got like this big ass tackle box that you're like, I don't know, they're all supposed to work. Like, I'm big into like add it and make sure you measure it if you can measure it. And then just focus on the things that are going to move the needle and make the biggest difference in your overall health.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think too much of a good thing is never really a good thing unless we know where we're at to be able to, adjust accordingly, for sure. Because I know that, for me, we were going to hit it on here, but I actually thought about it today is, I had a B12 situation I was over absorbing B12. Yeah. And I was taking it like all the time because I was like, B12, energy. And, everyone's like, it's great for you. And I felt good, but then I got my blood work done and they're like, you got to drop your Bs. Because in addition to that, I was eating a ton of greens. Yep. I was eating to the point of that. Yes. Let's always make sure that when we're trying to, improve our deficiencies, because we feel that we're lacking it in nutrition, you may not be. So checking your numbers is 100% key for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
No, it's like I said, so you're not wasting money too and time.
Oh my God. This stuff is not cheap.
I'm big into let's put the money where it's going to be best used. So
yeah, I'm actually doing that now. I'm downsizing my supplements now that I'm doing all the other stuff that we've been talking about. I'm in the peptide world, I'm supplementing what's most important on both sides.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We already spoke on magnesium, obviously for sleep, muscle recovery, just pretty much all enzymatic functions that happen in the body. So, that's a big one that almost everyone could supplement. A magnesium supplement, see some benefits from. Timing depends, like I said, if you're looking more for sleep, nighttime, personally, I always take it at nighttime just to fill it. And I do have a little bit in like my Intra workout, like electrolyte drink. Yep. So, another big one, and we both agree on that, is, like a omega, a good EPA, DHA, omega, a better quality one. Most people in the world don't eat enough fatty fish. I like fatty fish.
I can't, between the fatty fish and avocados, that's my jam.
I just don't cook it that much because it smells bad. Or if you go to like reheat it, people get mad at the office. So I try not to, so I do supplement like a good, I actually personally, I'm not promoting any one brand. I have nothing to do with any one brand, but like, what is it? Nordic Naturals makes a really good omega, that has a good EPA DHA ratio. But it's not just, it's going to help cholesterol, your joints, inflammation, just there's so many benefits to having a good quality, like omega / with a good EPA DHA ratio.
Yeah. I've been doing omegas for a really long time. But since the whole hormone health, that's been my new next to the gut health. It's been my journey for, inflammation and hormones have been huge. A lot of the women I'm working with now are experiencing a lot of different things. So I said, definitely omega-3s. I like again, I use a company called Design for Health.
Yep.
I use their
Great
Omega
company.
Val. Again, not promoting, but I love them. And I found that for a while, I was having a hard time digesting omega-3s.
Yeah.
So if you keep it in the refrigerator, it actually really does help digest it better. You're not like...
No fish burps.
You are not burping that up. But I love my salmon, all kinds of salmon. Yeah. And I like it cold. So if you're not a fan of cold fish, you don't have to reheat it. But if you don't mind cold salmon, it's like having like a...
Once it's cooked, I'm okay. I can't do raw salmon. I don't know how people do it.
Oh, the sushi?
Yeah. That's like the only sushi or raw fish I can't eat.
Salmon. So, yeah. No, omega-3 is definite. And I love it for its inflammatory purposes.
Yep.
100%. And a lot of the, now they have like so many different types. If you really can't kind of stomach it, now they have them that they're slightly flavored. They've got it lemon coated, or they have it in like Nordic Naturals, I think makes like a smoothie type flavor. So there's a couple of different ways to try to do it if you don't think that you can do it straightforward. Yeah. So
I do it at nighttime before bed, by the way, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like I keep it in the fridge, take it before I go to sleep.
Yeah. I take a lot of my supplements in the morning only because my timing at night is always off sometimes, like depending on when I get home, when I have dinner. I try to eat dinner like at a different time, at a certain time, but I try to get most of them in the morning. And then I take the magnesium type stuff like at night or, something like that. But yeah.
So iron, I know that's like a huge one for a lot of females, especially if you still get a menstrual cycle. A lot of times females are iron deficient. That's one thing you still need to be a little cautious on and check your blood work. Just
Definitely.
To make sure you're not over supplementing. A really good product. Just once again, we might as well give some recommendations, things that I've seen firsthand. I like Designs for Health? Yeah. It's called Ferrogel. Mm-hmm. It's a chelated ferrous ion. I think it's like 28 milligrams or something like that. Super low dose, but consistency over time will definitely help out.
Yeah. I personally have a really difficult time with iron. I told you I have Mediterranean anemia, which doesn't get treated through iron. It's obviously genetic, but for a while I was being treated with the iron, and my hemoglobin levels are always like pretty solid. But iron, obviously, if I don't take it with something else, like maybe a magnesium citrate, my stomach is destroyed. Because if you take too much, it could really have the adverse effect. And most of the clients that I work with have had that situation with iron. So I always say like I like to microdose it and see how your stomach can handle it before you go like all in, or take it with something that'll help you kind of, digest it, whether it be like some type of a fiber or, something like that.
Which one do you use that you like?
They were giving me, I'm trying to remember the name, but it was actually liquid.
Okay.
I did better with the liquid version of that. I actually, believe it or not, don't really take too much iron these days, which is crazy because my iron's good. And I guess it's because I eat a lot of greens. I don't do red meat, but I guess from whatever I'm doing, it seems to be good. But I do take a decent balance of B vitamins. Right. So I'm not all 12. I'll supplement it with like a homocysteine or something. So that'll supplement that straight iron for me. I think only because it's just how my body will absorb it.
So leading into that, you just said B12.
Yeah.
That's another one. I think a lot of people, they're lower and they do respond. I feel like in the world right now, it's like, it has to be a methylated B. I mean, that depends if you have a methylation problem, but end of the day, it's kind of one of those things where if you are deficient, you could check that on blood work, see if it's low. Mm-hmm. If you are deficient, does make a difference in just, kind of energy over time, cognitive function, just red blood cell production. So, most guys, weird, not a lot of guys are B deficient.
Really?
And this is just years and years of looking labs, but a lot of times females are.
Yes. I have seen that for a lot of the females. And one of the things that I used to do when I was younger is, because my grandmother was in the pharmacology business, is we were kids, we got B12 shots.
Yep.
Not all the time. We would get them maybe like once a month, if that. And you felt like a great burst of energy. So people are like, really? But again, that's, I think, something where you need to watch what your blood work is for that too. And I think that to that point, I think that obviously through the female cycles is when we go through our cycle, you do lose that B nutrient for sure. You lose that vitamin big time. I know when I was going through that, and when I supplemented just a little bit of that with a little bit of the iron, I started to feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an all or nothing. It was a combination of the two for sure. But I'm a huge fan of B vitamins for sure. I think it helps with not just with the energy, but it helps with your mood. It just everything just feels great. It helps with, obviously we said like nerve function. And there's a fair amount of food that I think have great B vitamins in it. Obviously, I don't think people understand that like your dark leafy greens are your best. And if you don't do the dark leafy greens, drink a green juice.
Right.
So there's means and ways around that. But I agree with you with the methylation because I do have a lot of clients that say, oh, if it's not methylated B, I'm not getting it. And I'm like, that's
forever for so long. Like most people have always used either cyanocobalamin, right? It's not going to convert to cyanide in your system. It's not going to be toxic. Now, if you truly have a methylation problem, you're probably not going to respond well to it. But forever, that basic form works great for most people. If it was bad, it wouldn't be around. But like I said, if you're worried about it, like I said, it costs a couple bucks more, get a methylated version, fine.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
So let's kind of talk, zinc. You already talked about zinc, which is another one I think everybody should take, more so for immune health for guys as they get older. And you're not maybe necessarily at the point where you need testosterone replacement. Zinc can actually help boost your natural testosterone level. For years I used to use a product called, it actually had zinc oxide in it. Along with a couple other things, and you could actually support a natural, decent testosterone profile with it, and a lot of guys. But the big one's going to be more immune system, immune function.
That's how I use it. Yeah.
So
that's how I use it.
And once again, there's a lot of the world we live today. I feel like a lot of people's guts aren't good. They're screwed up. They have leaky gut, whether you have some issues like diverticulitis, ulcerative colitis.
Yeah.
It's just, the microbiome's screwed. It's just, unfortunately, a lot of us don't absorb a lot from the food, or we don't get as much as we should. So that's kind of why, it's good to kind of pay attention, see where you might be deficient and start filling the gaps. But these are, once again, common ones that most people in America are deficient in. So, and have benefits. And for the most part, you're not going to OD or be too toxic on it. No. So this, I was going to say another one that's really big, and a lot of times for anyone just for thyroid function would be iodine. I actually just had someone today send me their blood work and they're low on iodine and their thyroid was off. And so I like it more so whether you decide to supplement it, or a good way to get around it is iodized sea salt. Makes a difference. It's one of the main things is going to support thyroid function, which your thyroid's your master governor gland of the metabolism.
Right.
So keeping that in a good spot. A lot of times, more times females than men, typically the thyroid as we age, or maybe you have predisposition, starts getting off as you age. And so iodine's a great way to kind of help the function of the thyroid and keep it working good. I do have one of the main ingredients is a Thyro Plus supplement actually has iodine, kelp. There's Google lipids are great to help balance. If you're solely focusing on thyroid, but iodine or just a little bit of iodized sea salt is a great way. And I think a lot of people got away from using salt, or if they have issues or medical conditions or hypertension. So it's like, don't be afraid of it. Definitely add it in and support the thyroid, which is going to keep your metabolism good.
Yeah, I used to be really leery about the iodine, full disclosure, because I was, you read a lot of stuff about too much iodine. And and then I had an issue, very low number for thyroid. And we talked about that. And then I went on the thyroid supplement with all the kelp, and which I actually like because I like the blend of that stuff, because I'm always one with supplements. If I'm not sure, I'd rather mix it with something like that with almost like food type supplements that are in that, as opposed to just going straight in with the with the iodine. But I agree. I think that a lot of, that's again, knowing your numbers, that's the blood work stuff. And a lot of the things with hormone health and the thyroid is definitely part of the iodine. And I think that if we take just a little bit and we know that, I do think that that'll help change the metabolism for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and then I was going to say like the poison's in the portion with a lot of things that you do, good, right? Yeah. So like that supplement in particular, I have small amounts of multiple things to kind of just support and get it done without kind of over supplementing any one particular, vitamin or, mineral or whatever it needs to be.
And I think that's how it should be for sure. Yeah. For something like this, absolutely. That's a good
one. It's like the little bit and the consistency over time, just like when you get into like your iron, same thing, like a low dose, like chelated iron, you're probably not going to see some problems but still make sure you monitor it and double check on it. And when it's good, then you adjust.
Yeah, I agree.
We talked about fiber, great for if you're trying to diet, make you feel full, make you poop, pulls cholesterol out of the gut. Like there's tons of, there's different forms. You have insoluble and soluble. I do try to get more people to stick with more whole foods if you can. You can do a little bit like of a psyllium husk. Make sure the quality of the psyllium husk's good. A lot of, unfortunately, like certain products like Metamucil, it's like the crap of the psyllium husk. It still works. Don't get me wrong.
I know.
But there's, I always kind of say like if you want to supplement something, like don't cut the corner and be cheap in your health. So.
Honestly, if someone wants to get the fiber, I would rather see someone add some form of a powdered chia, flax, or hemp to their meal than almost go with like, and the psyllium husk is good, but for some it could be harsh. But those are some other options for sure. And it's funny, I actually had a client of mine that was on, she came to me and she's like, I don't understand, I'm having issues. And she was on the Metamucil. And we were, we actually looked at the ingredients and we were breaking stuff down. And I said, why don't we tried because there is like some blends. You just do like a teaspoon of flax, teaspoon of chia, and then you could just put it into yogurts or you put it into a shake or whatever. And she noticed huge benefits just from getting away from that and switching into something more whole.
Yeah, more natural sources for sure.
Absolutely.
But if not, like if you're the person that's not going to get it, you'll feel the gaps on it. I'll tell you a funny story. Many, many years ago, like probably 20 years ago, I was actually starting to add fiber just to kind of, because of the benefits, and I was using Metamucil, and I was actually trying to diet at the time, and I was using the sugar-free Metamucil. Okay. And then there was a period of time where like I was stuck, and I'm like, what's going on? I was doing fiber in the morning, fiber at night. And it was like probably a good 2-3 week period. And one night, normally I would mix my fiber with a bunch of stuff. And I went to have it one night and I just did it straight up. And it was like super sweet. And I'm like, man. And I looked at it and it was the regular Metamucil. And I looked at it like I was basically drinking a soda every single night.
Oh my God.
My wife bought the regular one. And so I was stuck. Like I wasn't making any progression. I was pretty much having 2 sodas a day. And I'm like, I'd rather have 2 sodas
my God.
or eat something else that's, at least more satisfying than Metamucil. So, but yeah, just make sure you're, anytime you buy any type of supplements or drinks, make sure you're not like, just don't add extra calories you don't need. Put those towards some food.
Oh my gosh. So make sure you pay attention.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness.
So I think that's, we definitely covered a lot of the common ones that most Americans are deficient in. If you feel like you got a really healthy diet and you're really trying to kind of fill the gaps with whole food, still double check some of the most important ones, just to see if you're truly, the levels where it needs to be, or your numbers are where they need to be. And then if they're still subpar, that's where you start kind of filling the gaps.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of this discussion even today is I know a lot of people are a little leery, and I know some that are super leery on supplements because they're like, I don't want to rely on it. Well, we're not relying on this. Like you said, this is filling in the gaps. It's like, the food is still the primary, but you're never going to get everything you need to get in every meal that there is. And people have asked me if they can. I'm like, I'm sure we could, and we can.
Yeah.
But one, it's going to be a lot of time, planning, and preparation. And it's going to be a lot of, to break everything down, with how many grams of fiber and how many. So it's like, if you eat the basic, colors of the rainbow and proteins and such, you'll get most of this. If you're doing that 80% of the time, absolutely. But if not, I mean, I think it's absolutely beneficial to supplement that while you're doing all that in play at the same time.
So we talked about the average, just American, the general person just trying to be healthy and fill the gaps. Do we want to maybe go into a little bit of like more for the person that's actually kind of physically training, active in the gym? Do we want to kind of?
I think that's super important because from a training standpoint, I personally am doing it. I'm sure you're doing it as well. And it's a question now that I'm getting asked a lot. And, you know, as far as, and we talked about this a little bit, the biggest one I'm getting right now, and we're like, yes, is the whole creatine monohydrate stuff. And because I think we've gotten into the world, and we talked about this in one of the previous podcasts, is that it's not, people took creatine for size.
Yep.
That was what, and everyone was afraid, especially women. You never heard of a female taking creatine unless they were doing physique or bodybuilding. I was one of them, never believed in it at all. Now we have studies for brain cognitivity and the hormones, and everybody's putting it in their smoothie, myself included. So I definitely think we should be talking about stuff like that for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, creatine, you know, like I said, for years it's been touted as a bodybuilding supplement or only if you're an athlete. And it's great for that stuff, and it's going to improve endurance and performance and ATP, but what it could do just for the average person. So I kind of wanted, like, that's why I want to bring that up, is like, it should go in most people's regimen.
Absolutely.
You know, creatine monohydrate helps your body produce more adenosine triphosphate or ATP. You've heard of it. And that's basically what our cells use for energy. You know, there's certain longevity things you do, like NAD, which helps mitochondrial energy, moving the ATP to the cell. Methylene blue can help with some of that. But creatine is probably the longest running supplement, most researched supplement in the world. You know, you don't have to get fancy with it. You don't have to buy the buffered one. You don't need to buy a liquid one. Something so simple as like a decent quality creatine monohydrate, super cheap, 3 to 5 grams per day. It's going to improve not just your performance or recovery or muscle, but cognitive function. There's so many benefits. I just like, I chuckle every time I hear, like, cause it's like social media, I think, has put information out there, and now it's like, what do you know about this? And I'm like, it's been around forever, been used forever, but now it's nice to see people accept it as like, there's so much benefit and very little risk to it. Now, I will tell you, if you're somebody who's maybe have like renal insufficiency, but you should hydrate, all this stuff we talk about, hydrate, electrolytes, like, it's really safe even for someone, you know, like they're like, well, but I have cardiac issues or I have hypertension. You boys should be fixing your hydration and you know, correcting certain things when it comes to that. But creatine's not going to cause any issues. For the population
down here, even for the older population that isn't drinking enough water, that's going to hydrate those areas that need to be hydrated, as well as, you know, all of the multiple benefits that you had mentioned. So so we're creatine fans.
And then, you know, kind of still we're talking more physical activity, not saying you're an athlete, but sports performance, or just to get the most out of your physical activity. We already talked about D3K2, so we're not going to hit on that. We spoke about magnesium, which is so many benefits. Next in line is, and you and I are a little bit different on this one, but it's all for the same goal, is protein supplementation. And once again, it's supplementation. You know, a lot of times that it's hopefully going to fill the gap. You have a lot of people that don't eat enough food, or they don't consume enough protein, or they're on particular types of diet that restrict animal meats and protein. So whether you're doing like a high quality, and I always say high quality, like a whey isolate or hydrolyzed whey supplement usually is good for most people. Or if you're trying to go more plant-based, get in a good quality plant-based. And I think I've asked you this before, but which one do you use for a plant-based protein? Which one do you like, or a lot of times with your clients you recommend? Yeah.
So it's actually funny. There's a few, but what I do personally, I like Kachava.
Yep.
Kachava is a great plant-based. It's a whole food shake, which I love. But as of late, because sometimes I don't want to have all the whole foods in my protein shake. Like, I don't need the greens. I don't need the super reds, which are like the fruits and things like that. I don't always want something that has digestive enzymes or pre and probiotics. I want to so I have been, I tested around. I've been using a combination, a shake that I've made with pumpkin protein.
Okay.
And pea protein, and it's
Is that the one you made at True?
Yes,
Okay.
I made it at True, and it's got 30 grams of protein. It's low in sugar, and then it's great. I absolutely love this. I created it, like I said, created it myself. It works for my digestion. I've been reading it's a 50-50 split.
Yep.
So I've been reading all the benefits, and and my clients said, and what's great for this product as far as the Kachava is if you're not getting all the stuff that we talked about, the foods, that's a great one. But if you want something to maybe throw into like overnight oats, or you want to throw something into like a yogurt bowl or whatever, I wish I could do more dairy, but dairy and I don't love each other. But whey is great because it's satiating, because it keeps you full for a while. And if you're someone that's looking to densify your calories, and then in addition to that, get a little bit extra protein, like all my males love that. My males are like, I am not drinking a plant-based shake. Yeah. My women are like, yep, sign me up for plant-based.
I'm going to have you bring me a sample. I'm going to try it.
I will. I had it today. It was great. It was fabulous.
But whether it's, like I said, plant-based, a high quality whey, that's one that I kind of like as a staple, just because I feel like so many people don't get enough protein, which is a key to keeping your muscle tissue, keeping your metabolic rate up. So, it's like if you're not consuming enough, let's fill the gaps on it. And so I put a protein supplement, whether it's plant-based or 100%. A higher quality one, be careful with some of the not so good quality shakes, because you'll wreck your stomach.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, read the ingredients. There's a lot of hidden sugars. There's a lot of hidden dyes in some of these shakes. And some of them are products that I see on Instagram and Facebook all the time. So I'm a researcher. I always look for stuff, but yeah, no, I won't put anything like that in my body. That's not. So make sure it's like you said, it's gotta be good quality.
Awesome. To kind of go off, like honestly, I would have grouped this in with the last one, but I kind of left it for more like the physical activity or the people that are trying to take it up a notch, a pre and probiotic.
I love pre and you actually recommended it to me. You recommended seed. I love it. It's so soft on the stomach. I think pre and probiotics are awesome. One for just the overall gut health. I think that as with everything, probiotics can be really good, but probiotics can be really bad. Yep. Because if you have, and I've worked with a lot of them, if you have someone that already has some GI issues, the probiotic could make it it could make it worse. Right. So we need to monitor that. That's why I'll usually say maybe we try to get more fermented food in before we try the probiotic, which is basically tying into this whole conversation today. And then if we feel that they're good with the fermented foods, then I would do the pre and probiotic, because I think having those different bacterial strains in your system just help the system keep, all of your bacteria out, keeps your energy up, because obviously if your digestion's clear, you're not focusing all of your energy on digesting. And then I also think that it's also really good for immunity. It's good for your mood. I do not stay with the same probiotic all the time. Like I've been doing seed now for 2 or 3 months, and then I'll flip it maybe to try something else, because your body can become adjusted. Yep. So you don't necessarily always need that. I'm curious to see how you
do after going from that maybe to a different one. I mean, listen, there's some really good probiotics out there. A lot of times, good note, if you're getting something that maybe is not like seed, that has the patent on like the 2 capsule system, definitely take it with food.
Oh yeah.
So it has a chance to survive the gut. But I feel like a lot of people, once again, their guts are so screwed up in the world we live, just from all the processed crap and just
medication,
antibiotics. It's like, it's like you're sick, antibiotics, sick, antibiotic. It's like, or just even depending on like some of the food choices you have, if you're eating animal proteins, depending on if they're highly antibiotics, it's just that over time you start screwing up the good and bad, and the bad grows back much quicker. So, even if you don't plan on taking a pre and probiotic, I recommend if you ever do a course of antibiotics, you probably need to take a probiotic afterwards, just to restore the microbiome of the gut.
Absolutely. So, that's very much true is if you're taking an antibiotic, get the probiotic. But I also, one thing is don't fall into because we go to a lot of these health food stores, and although the people that work there at most places are fabulous, they will convince you to buy a super expensive probiotics only can be refrigerated type of probiotic. And that's not necessarily the case.
Yep.
So, don't always think that, that's the way to go. There's a lot of good ones now that we don't have to refrigerate. I remember years ago, it was like if the probiotic wasn't in the fridge, you were doomed. But not really. But it is important to just make sure that it's a good quality. Look for the types of, more strains isn't better. Yeah. So obviously and do a little research.
Fill the gap. Like if you're able to do more fermented foods, do it. If you like, do you eat sauerkraut?
I'm a pickle girl.
Oh, okay.
I do like sauerkraut, but I'm a pickle and kimchi. I like that kind of stuff. Those are like the ones that I'll go to. I like pickled vegetables, pickled beets. Yep. I like those.
When I was younger, no, but I've kind of acquired the taste of like pickled beets and some of that over time.
Yeah, well, people think that they don't a lot like vinegary type flavor is hard for a lot of people to digest. But I chug apple cider vinegar every day, so it's it's okay.
It's definitely a acquired taste.
Yes, it is.
So last but not least, just to kind of check into more like things that could go above and beyond and also support your performance, electrolytes. We already talked about it.
Yeah.
Sodium, potassium, magnesium. There's multiple different products out there. I think a lot of people, we've said this before, is you hydrate, and you could hydrate with water, and you could drink a lot of water. If you're in Florida and you're outside working and sweating, like you're going to expel a lot of electrolytes. And if you're not replenish them, it's going to wreak havoc on your system, your mood, your cognitive function, your performance. So making sure that you replace the electrolytes, or at least just keep them in a good spot. I don't know what you use. Like I actually add like Noon tabs. I've used that company for a long time. I like them because they're not highly flavored. They're just subtle. You could put them in your water. There are some drinks you could do intra workout if you want to add like an intra workout electrolyte. What do you use for your electrolytes outside of like maybe you just adding, sodium?
I'm a huge electrolyte girl, like because with my type of job, I'm always doing something. So and then living here in Florida has been very much, so I'm always I like Dr. Berg.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
I love that brand. It's clean. It's got a little bit of Himalayan sea salt. Yep. I recommend it to a lot of people that I work with. And I don't think people understand the importance of electrolytes, even just from we lose a lot, and most people are so dehydrated. A lot of people just are walking around dehydrated, and it's very easy to see. Yeah. And I think a lot of people won't drink just water. And like you said, water isn't necessarily hydration, but if you're putting something in it, I don't mind a little bit of flavor. I hate stuff that's super, super sweet. I don't consider Gatorade like something that people should be drinking. I did have somebody that came to me and they're like, I had 2 G2s or whatever I don't even know what they're called. It's sucralose. It's like, you're drinking sugar. So it's like, get a good quality. There's some really good ones. There's IV hydration. Yep. There's, I love the Noon. I like the Dr. Berg. I think there's another one called, I forget. It's a little package. It's
LMNT.
a black. Yes, that's the one. So I'll tell people if they think it's too sweet, do a half at a time. Do either a half a scoop or half a packet, and maybe take that one packet and go throughout the day.
LMNT is like super salty to me. Yeah, I normally don't add it, so it's like
I'm not a salt girl. I don't like a lot of salts, but so hydration key, electrolyte support is super important. Awesome.
Cool. So what else is there? Did we leave anything else out that are more common ones that most people should add? Or obviously performance, we already spoke about that. I mean, we could go all day. There's so many supplements out there and so many things you could do. I just think about what is your goal? Where do you think you're potentially deficient? And then just be more precise. Don't just take it because people tell you to take it. I mean,
I think I'm a big fan of, I do take it daily. I talked about it in some of my other stuff I'm a big collagen girl.
Okay.
I know a lot of people aren't sure if it works. I felt that for me, it did. And I, even for hormone stuff too, I like it. I put it in my tea in the morning. I'll throw it in a shake. For me, if you break a fast, at least if you do 2 or 3 scoops, whatever it is, it's 20 or 30 grams of protein in the morning. So I like that too.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's funny. A lot of times certain supplements now, people kind of have their pros or cons just to kind of be relevant or to kind of put their own spin on it. I think most people with collagen, whether you're using it for hair, skin, nails, whether you're using it for digestion, looking to add just a different protein source to fill the gaps.
Yeah.
I mean, there are quite a bit of benefits. I could tell you more so. I've noticed more with joints and with just like gut.
Yeah.
So
that's why I like it.
That's kind of goes in my nighttime drink. So I have like a whole slew. I just try to kill like 10 birds with one stone with that drink before bed. So, but no, I think that's a great one. It's kind of one of those things like, don't add too much at once. When you do add something, just maybe be strategic and then see how you respond.
Always. That's what I tell everybody to do. Little incremental pieces at a time. Good.
Awesome. And I think, you already spoke on like a greens drink if you're not getting greens. There's tons of companies out there. Just make sure we look at the label. There's a lot of overpriced, overhyped drinks out there that cost a lot of money, and like you can find some better ones, but
absolutely.
Nothing will still supplement, obviously, the food that you eat.
Yes.
So, well, that's awesome. So, hopefully on the, I think next episode, we'll probably talk a little bit more specific, as far as with timing with nutraceuticals or certain nutraceuticals to kind of get the biggest ROI.
Absolutely.
So
obviously a good takeaway for today is we're making sure that you guys all understand that supplements are not it. It is part of a well-balanced, healthy, lifestyle plan. And we wanted to obviously give you the best tools that we could for today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed our little tidbit on supplements, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the next episode. Have a great one. See you later.